With the NSA.
We have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft.
Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Move very rapidly at any speed or whether any direction it wanted to go. Flag could change and go to the right or the left or go crossways without hesitating a bit.
What do you think it was?
Well, if they call it a flying saucer, that's what it is.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over. Negative. We don't want to report.
Look, it wasn't my worst Wednesday night.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Anomaly-NOW, straight out of Austin, Texas. I am your host, Smiles Lewis. It's Wednesday, December 25th, 2024. That's right. Merry Christmas, season's greetings, happy holiday, happy Hanukkah. However you celebrate, we hope you have a wonderful holiday season. I am going to be presenting here in just a bit a brief panel participation that I did at the grand opening of the Archives of the Impossible at Rice University in Houston back in March of 2022. And we hope that you'll enjoy that. Coming up very soon in the monthly Anomaly Archives, Anomaly Academy Patreon presentations will be some special gifts that we're going to be doing. But going forward into 2025, we've got a lot of great stuff for you. Of course, you can go to our website and see links and information about our past presentations. These are available to Patreon members at the Anomaly Academy cadet level or higher. And you can see all the kinds of past presentations that we've had this past year when we started back in June of this year. And I just really hope that you'll tune in and enjoy. Coming up in 2025, we are going to have presentations by Chris Rutkowski in January 2025. That will be Chris Rutkowski presenting on alien abductions. You can find out more about Chris over at our website, where we've got links to his websites and information on the various books that he has produced over the years, including these that you're seeing here now. And then coming up in February, we've got a presentation from Aaron Gulyas, the host of the Saucer Life podcast, and he'll be presenting on flying saucers, but a very special presentation titled to be announced shortly. And then coming up in March, at a date yet to be set, we've got Micah who will be presenting on some very interesting subjects, I have no doubt. So you can go to patreon.com/Anomaly Archives and find out more about the various tiers. We have tiers as low as $1 a month, $2 a month, $5 a month, but it's at the $10 or higher level where you get access to our live monthly presentations and other special materials. So check that out. We hope you'll join us, and I hope that you enjoy this brief introduction to the Anomaly Archives that I gave as part of a panel presentation in 2022 at the grand opening of the Rice University Archives of the Impossible. Thank you, and Happy New Year.
And now let's move on to Stephen Miles or Smiles Lewis, our third presenter. And Smiles has had a lifelong fascination with the anomalous. His early age proclivity of recalling his dreams and personal experiences with ESP, precognition and dream switching solidified his interest in the paranormal. Smiles led the Austin MUFON and UFO Experiencer Support and Study Groups, published the Paranormal Printzine, edited a local paranormal newspaper, hosted a network of paranormal websites, organized a national UFO conference, spoken to anthropologists about the transformative UFO paradigm, hosted both terrestrial and web radio talk shows while maintaining his own paranormal web radio station since the last century, and has been podcasting since before the phrase existed. In 2003, Smiles founded the nonprofit Anomaly Archives in Austin, Texas. In 2017, he contributed an essay titled True Folk versus You Folks, Planetary Poltergeists and Weapons of Mass Enchantment to the UFO Ontology UFOs Reframing the Debate. Smiles has worked in a variety of libraries his entire adult life, and currently he runs the volunteer studio of the Texas State Library and Archives Commission's Talking Book program, producing audiobooks for the blind and print disabled. So it's on to you, Smiles.
Thank you. So I just want to say how much of an honor and a pleasure it is to be here. I am not an academic. I am not a professional librarian or archivist. I am just like so many of you, people who've had experiences that led them down this path of interest in strange phenomena. We are a 501c3 nonprofit based in Austin, Texas, and that lifelong fascination has led me, as she said, to lead a local Austin MUFON chapter, the local experiencer abductee support group, and led me into discovering the 1990s alternative media zine scene, and then publishing my own zine for a time, and meeting a wealth of people who had an interest in these same subjects and were using the desktop revolution of the 90s to publish their zines. One of those people was Austin-based West Nations. West Nations was publishing an amazing magazine called Crash Collusion that dealt with psychedelics, conspiracy, magic, UFOs, the paranormal, visionary experiences, and whatnot. And through him, I met a wealth of close friends who I still maintain connections with today. And all this time, I was becoming aware of the Archives for UFO Research, now the Archives for the Unexplained in Sweden. And that was really the greatest inspiration to undertake the mission impossible of founding a nonprofit independent archive, not associated with any university or institution. As my own personal library began to grow, as so many of you have experienced, you sometimes outpace your ability to read, and there comes that moment where you're like, well, what are these books doing besides sitting on my shelves? They could be serving so many others. West Nations, a few slides back, when he moved away, he donated his collection of material. I had been recording Mutual UFO Network local conferences and accumulating these materials. And so when he moved away and I acquired his collection, that's around the time when I finally decided to set aside other projects that were involved in the paranormal to found the nonprofit archive in 2003. This was our first location here. We literally were in the first small garage in the front there and just renovated it to accommodate our first 1,000 books and magazines and periodicals. When we moved to our next location, we were gifted with our largest collection to date, and that is the personal library of rare book collector and seller Bob Gerard, who was notorious. Some described him as the Marcel Proust of the UFO scene because he was constantly writing these little micro reviews of all the products that he was selling, these books and magazines, and he was pretty brutal in his assessment of them as he tried to sell them to you. So we have, besides his personal collection, which is over 2,000 books, it includes rare materials from the 1600s that aren't necessarily directly UFO or paranormal related, but that also contains a wealth of UFO material, Atlantis material, classic contactee books, and the like, and as well as a almost complete collection of his Arcturus book zine, a catazine, which was his catalog and magazine where he wrote and published these materials, as well as copies of his own self-published material, Future Man being probably his most concerted effort to explicate his views on this phenomena. I do want to credit Klaus Svahn for that previous photo of Bob. That still is from the documentary produced by Discovery Channel, Farewell Good Brothers. That's an interesting look at the contactee movement kind of after its heyday. These are two stills of some of the other books that he published, Mice being a brief allegory about the UFO phenomena from the perspective of mice trying to understand the nature of their reality, as well as The Revolt of the Free and another title that's escaping me. So we collect a number of other collections. Over the years, we've had a wide variety of people, both experiencers and researchers, donate their materials to us. Some are just actually our attempts at collecting other people's works independently. This experiencer, Josie Gallant, was a local abductee, contactee experiencer. She was also quite the artist. She produced a number of works, that some of which are available online. And so we've collected materials like when her art, like that middle drawing was from a video that appeared on local Austin Access Television. There was some didgeridoo in the background that I believe was produced by another experiencer who donated their collection. And she had quite an extensive website. So besides the books and the correspondence of people that we're collecting, we're also trying to do, as has been described, collect digital collections, artifacts, and other ephemera that make up the world of the researchers and experiencers exploring these realities. Two other donated collections include that of Dennis Stacy, who wrote for Omni magazine, was also for a time the editor of the MUFON UFO Journal, who also wrote articles on the UFO subject, including for the then current 1947 to 1957 book. And his collection includes a lot of correspondence as well. Also, a researcher on the West Texas Marfa Lights, former aerospace engineer James Bunnell. He's donated some of his personal library, and they're examples of researchers whose collections we have. We also have some collections donated from local hypnotherapist, past life regression therapist Rabia Lynn Clark. And though we don't have Dr. Turner's collection, I bring up her in reference to our next collection. The book Taken was published and translated into many, many different languages. There was a copy of a Japanese translation there, and this was a focused book on 8 abductees, one of whom turned out to be an abductee from Austin, Texas, Jana Ganth, who also was an artist. There's some examples of her work, at least one of which we are in possession of. And we were gifted with her personal library, and she kept voluminous daily diaries of the strange experiences and sightings that she was having. And so we have just notebook upon notebook upon notebook of her dream journal, her daily, almost daily, weekly sightings of strange phenomena. And this slide is a great example, though, of, on the right there is the scribblings of her personal sighting of a UFO when she was called by the local MUFON representative and said, "Hey, we're hearing reports of a triangular lighted object over Lago Vista. Can you go out and see if you can see it from where you are?" She could. Her mother was with her. She saw it too. She took copious notes. She submitted the MUFON report that you can see up there. Now, as is the challenge with these things, many of the MUFON reports are digitized and online. You will not find that one there because it's before the time that they've managed to digitize. And then on the left there is an example of the newspaper article that came out a few days later talking about that sighting. So at the height of our organization's progress, we managed to procure some office space within this wonderful facility in downtown Austin, right there on the interstate frontage road. And we really felt we'd kind of reached a new level. Things were looking up. We had enough space to finally unpack that massive Gerard collection and finish cataloging it. And we had an event space, not as grand as this, but a place that we could hold our public lectures. And it was in a prime location in central Austin, and we were trying to keep Austin weird. And then the pandemic happened. So one of the last significant collections that we acquired is that of Bob Durant. Bob Durant was a former military and commercial aviation pilot who had a fascination with things like psychic remote viewing, and Ingo Swann, whose painting you can see in the background there. And of course, he's reading a copy of Paul Smith's book, Reading the Enemy's Mind. He was very also focused on UFOs and cryptozoology. He served on the board of SITU, the Society for the Investigation of the Unexplained, famous cryptozoology-oriented organization, and was very much a proponent of Roswell. And we received his personal book collection, or a good portion of it, as well as 5 boxes of his personal correspondence and other materials. As you've seen in other photos, boxes of home recordings, audio, and whatnot. So we're still working on cataloging that. It's been a little difficult since the pandemic. So before the pandemic, we tried to make these materials available through public access. We have no paid staff. It's all volunteer run, no significant budget to speak of. And we were really gaining ground, getting a lot more volunteers involved. And we tried to make those materials searchable by creating finding aids. And we're slowly getting our finding aids up on the Tarot Texas Archival Resources Online website, so that we can hopefully make it easier for folks like yourselves and others to find these materials and then come to us and gain access to them. This is incredibly difficult now, though, because as of the beginning of 2021, we have been in storage because of the pandemic. We basically lost our lease and are struggling to find our path forward. And so it is very bittersweet to be here. But we will continue to try to do outreach as we have in the past, tabling at events that we think will have resonance. There's a science fiction film festival in Austin called Otherworlds Austin that we've tabled at and gotten really good response to. We have funded been sponsors of and tabled at events like Austin Archives Bazaar, and most recently did a presentation as part of the Folklore in the Archives at the University of North Texas's online streaming event, and trying to participate and get the word out about our collection at events such as this. And somehow my contact info has disappeared. Contact at anomalyarchives.org. The website is anomalyarchives.org. Thank you so much for having it.
Thank you very much, Smiles. It was fascinating, and I did know about the existence of your archive, but I had no idea of its scope and ambition and rich history. And it's very, very informative, very illuminating.